growth properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica, the number 3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we are here live. And then, of course, we come back live Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. But that's not enough, because we know this is our mission, and time is short. The enemy knows time is short. The globalists, the collectivists, the gangs, the control freaks, the psychopaths that we're fighting, who throughout history and society build these corrupt systems that free people have to get together and fight. We know that they're moving fast right now, but for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Newtonian physics have proven to be accurate, and there is a great movement of liberty and awakening happening right now. We're going to be talking to former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, who's a Republican, a libertarian, and also a presidential candidate, being ignored just like Ron Paul. And we're going to get his view on the debates and the economy and where the society's going in one moment. First off, I just want to add, we have a Christmas holiday special going that I've never offered something this good. And the small profit we make funds this independent media operation. So you're also helping us keep the reporters and the news websites and the nightly news that we do. And that's not enough in the fight for liberty. We do the 5 days a week nightly news, 7 o'clock Central as well. You can get all 18 of my films that are on DVD, several Infowars.com, and In the Fed bumper stickers, and a Citizen rule book, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, things like that. All for $99.95. That's a $260 discount. It's normally $359 and change, and that is running up until Christmas. And you can order before the 19th and get it shipped to you and be absolutely guaranteed you get it here in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., I'd order right now. Again, Infowars.com, or call to order. Or if you have any questions, 888-253-3139. We've also got the Infowars.com T-shirts and more that support us, but also get the truth out everywhere, and you meet like-minded people. And that's always important. You'll be surprised how many Info Warriors are out there. Okay, now going to our first guest. Max Keiser will be joining us after we take calls in the second half of the next hour. Gary Johnson has been referred to as the most fiscally conservative governor in the country, and he was the governor of New Mexico from 94 to 2003. He was a successful businessman before that. And, of course, he's now running for president, just kind of like Ron Paul did 4 years ago, building up to at least inject real ideas and issues. He's been a part of many of the debates. He's been given tiny amounts of time, just like Ron Paul, as the system basically kind of games things, like a mafia-run horse race where they let in a five-lap race, they give the other horses a 4-lap head start and tie bowling balls onto Ron Paul and Gary Johnson. GaryJohnson2012.com is the website, and OurAmericaInitiative.com. Governor, great to have you here with us today, sir.
Alex, great to be with you. And, talking about the debates, being excluded from 14 of the 16 debates really kind of has a self-fulfilling prophecy unto itself. And the issue is that I'm not even in the polls that determine whether or not you get into the debates. So they identify ABC poll. You're having to show 2% in ABC poll, and I'm not in ABC poll. And when I'm in the polls, I show as well as others that are on stage. So you hit it on the head. It's not fair, and I really kind of feel put out by the Republican Party that the Republican Party didn't stand up to this notion of just to put Johnson in the polls. We're not asking that he be in the debate, but just put him in the polls that give him an opportunity to potentially...
Yeah, they're not even letting you try to qualify in their rigged system. But take Ron Paul. He's number 1, number 2, or number 3, even CBS admits, in all these caucuses and and events that are coming up, and in all these different polls, sometimes they give him 89 seconds when the next candidate gets 3 minutes, and people like Romney 11 minutes. I mean, if that isn't bold, in-your-face cheating and rigging, I don't know what is. I mean, that whoever they're ignoring, that's an endorsement right there. They're scared of you. They're scared of Ron Paul. And to a certain extent, they don't like Michelle Bachmann either. You know, that CBS memo came out, and they're really trying to shut you guys down.
Well, no, I think you hit it on the head, and at its base is the notion that it's unfair, and at the base is a message that really isn't getting heard, and not that a lot of people don't want it expressed, and that is, look, let's cut the spending, let's balance the budget, and then the whole thing with Occupy Wall Street, the notion that this country deals it out unfairly. This country deals it out unfairly. It's payola. It's money to politicians that grant special loopholes to groups, individuals, corporations that are well connected politically, as opposed to the notion of a level playing field that all of us have equal access to the American dream. So, and in that context, Alex, I'm advocating the fair tax. For those listening, if you haven't checked out the fair tax, really check it out. It is, as the name implies, it's fair. The more money you make, the more fair tax you'll pay. It'll promote savings. It'll do away with all existing federal tax.
Now, Governor, yours isn't like Herman Cain, where he keeps the income tax, but just at 9% and can later jack it up and also keeps the payroll tax, is it?
No, I would ask everybody listening right now to get online, check it out, fairtax.org. It does away with all existing federal tax, so corporate tax, business tax, income tax, does away with the IRS, does away with withholding. Because it does away with the corporate income tax, if the private sector does not create tens of millions of jobs in an environment of zero corporate taxes, I don't know what environment could exist to where that would happen by the private sector. And then there's the whole notion of goods and services to China. Built into all goods and services right now is about a 23% tax. So by enacting the fair tax, you actually bleed that out so that American goods and services become 23% more competitive when we're exporting those goods and services, as would imported goods and services be subject to the 23% fair tax. Well,
again, I like you because you're for drug decriminalization, which is really important, obviously, because it hasn't worked. I mean, there's more drugs, and it's destroyed our society, and we have the highest prison population in the world, not just per capita, but period. And have you seen all these articles coming out where they admit our troops are helping grow the opium in Afghanistan?
Look, I just think right now, if we can't connect the dots between border violence with Mexico and prohibition, I don't know if we ever will. These are disputes that are being played out with guns rather than the court. And if you want to look to the debates right now, everybody on stage wants to build a fence, with the exception of Perry. And don't build a fence. I think that would be a terrible waste of resource. Make it as easy as possible for somebody who wants to come into this country to get a work visa, not a green card, not citizenship. But by the way, taxes won't even be an issue if we implement the fair tax, because fair tax is unavoidable. Whether you're illegal, legal, visitor, fair tax is unavoidable. And then, looking at border violence, with the exception of Ron Paul, every other candidate on stage wants to answer the guns on the border, the gun violence on the border with more guns. Great.
What would you do as president with something like Fast and Furious? Because we always see the next administration protect the last administration, on and on and on. What's your view of Fast and Furious, Governor Gary Johnson joining us right now, Republican presidential candidate? And after you tell us your view on Fast and Furious, which is, in your neck of the woods, it's affected New Mexico, as you know, as well as Arizona. It's very close to the epicenter, even more so than Texas. In fact, there was some Fast and Furious in New Mexico, as you know, where you were governor. And then I want to get your view on Corzine's 40-to-1 bet being Obama's advisor, now more bailouts to Europe and their central banks, and what you think of MF Global.
Well, the financial crisis right now in Europe is one of liquidity, and that liquidity crisis comes about as a result of potentially no payment on bonds. That's the reason, of course, for the last several weeks in sell-off when it comes to U.S. equities is raising cash. Short term, if Europe goes down the tank, short-term gold will go down tremendously. There'll be a tremendous spike down for gold simply because the banks have liquidity. So you're pointing out the fact that, we're making the banks liquid. This doesn't address the underlying issue, which is the values of these assets have not been written down. And so I'm afraid that this is going to be something very recurring. We in this country should be pursuing strong monetary policy, not weak monetary policy. Returning to the gold standard, that would be a real plus.
Well, what is your long-term view on gold? Because worldwide governments are signaling turning printing presses up. Won't that drive gold and silver up, but also other commodities in the long term?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But short-term, you could see an absolute, which is kind of what we've seen. The downward spikes have to do with liquidity and banks and their ability to sell off the liquid stuff, and so hence equities and commodities over the last several weeks. Now, of course, we got everything seems to be rallying at the moment, and it's rallying on the basis of liquidity. And yes, we're pumping more liquidity into a system, global economically, that we're going to have inflation everywhere.
Now, what is your take, though, specifically on Fast and Furious?
Oh, what an outrage! I mean, it's a total outrage. Governments run amok. This is when you have a holder running justice, and then maybe what this is obvious is that he's not running justice at all. Somebody else is. But this is what government can do, and it's government at its worst. And there ought to be there has to be accountability for potentially guns being used against ourselves. I don't even get the point. I don't get it at all. It doesn't make any sense from A to Z as far as I'm concerned.
Let me expand on what's currently happening and what you as a governor, as a presidential candidate, what your views are on this. We've seen the National Defense Authorization Act and the big debates, and the sponsors, Graham and McCain, now admit, yeah, we'll arrest citizens forever, throw you into a dungeon, and no one will know where you went. And now they've got another bill to go ahead and say, okay, it is torture, we're going to legalize torture. I mean, they can't legalize barbecuing black children on the White House lawn. You can't legalize raping a woman in an alley, even if Nero or Hitler says so. And we see the Republicans involved in this. We see Newt Gingrich promoting it. We see Newt Gingrich, who supported government health care and all this. What is your view of just the open authoritarianism being pushed? I'm sure you heard Homeland Security's putting lamp posts up everywhere with microphones in them, TSA on the streets of America. What's your view on how fast all this is moving?
Well, it's moving really fast, and all to our detriment. Is it making us any safer? It's absolutely not making us any safer, and it's getting worse, not better. I'm making three promises running for president of the United States. One is I promise to submit a balanced budget to Congress in the year 2013. Now, Alex, that's promising to submit a balanced budget. I can't promise a balanced budget, but I'm promising to submit it. So that's a 43% reduction in government spending, and included in that would be eliminating the Department of Homeland Security, the fact that it's so redundant. I just happen to think there's a 43% redundancy or overage built into every single department in federal government. Fast and Furious is an example of that. I mean, what is this? This is too much time on people's hands to think up an absolutely nuttiest thing that you could possibly think of. I mean, is it an afternoon think session where they drink Manhattans? I'm not sure, but it makes no sense whatsoever. And so balance the federal budget, cut 43% of government, and that starts with Medicaid, that starts with Medicare, that starts with military spending. The big three.
Gary, you're running for president, trying to interject your